Hello students. Welcome to this detailed explanation about the Age of Geoffrey Chaucer. I am going to explain everything in simple words so that you understand it clearly, even if this is your first time learning about it. Please pay close attention, as this topic is very important for your exams. Let us begin by understanding who Geoffrey Chaucer was. Geoffrey Chaucer was one of the greatest poets of the Middle Ages. He was born around 1343 in London, England, and lived until 1400. Chaucer is often called the father of English literature because he wrote in Middle English. It was a form of English that was spoken during that time. Before him, most important literary works were written in Latin or French. By choosing to write in English, Chaucer helped make the English language more popular and respected in literature. Chaucer is best known for his famous work, The Canterbury Tales. This book is a collection of stories told by a group of pilgrims who are traveling to the shrine of St. Thomas Becket in Canterbury. Each pilgrim tells a story to entertain the group during their journey. The stories are written in a variety of styles and cover different themes such as love, greed, and morality. We will discuss this work in more detail later. Now that you know a bit about Geoffrey Chaucer, let us explore the historical period in which he lived. This period is often called the Age of Geoffrey Chaucer, and it lasted from around 1340 to 1400. It was a very important time in English history and literature. Many events and changes during this period influenced Chaucer's writing. One major event was the 100 Years' War. This was a long conflict between England and France that lasted from 1337 to 1453. During Chaucer's lifetime, England was frequently at war with France. This war affected every part of English society, including trade, politics, and daily life. Chaucer himself worked as a government official and sometimes traveled to France on diplomatic missions, which gave him first-hand experience of the impact of the war. Another significant event was the Black Death, a deadly plague that spread across Europe between 1347 and 1351. The Black Death killed millions of people, including about one-third of the population of England. This terrible disease had a huge impact on society. It caused a shortage of workers, which led to changes in the economy and social structure. After the Black Death, peasants began to demand better wages and living conditions. This eventually led to the Peasants' Revolt in 1381, a major uprising in England. Chaucer lived during a time when the feudal system was still in place. In this system, the king was at the top, followed by nobles, knights, and peasants. However, during Chaucer's time, this system began to weaken. The rise of towns and the growth of trade created new opportunities for people to earn money and move up in society. This social change is reflected in The Canterbury Tales, where Chaucer introduces characters from different social classes, such as a knight, a merchant, a miller, and a prioress. Religion also played a central role in the lives of people during the Age of Chaucer. The Catholic Church was very powerful, and most people were deeply religious. Pilgrimages, or journeys to religious sites, were common during this time. This is why Chaucer chose to set The Canterbury Tales during a pilgrimage. However, not everyone was happy with the church. There was growing criticism of corruption among the clergy and church officials. Chaucer sometimes criticized the church in his writings, but he did so carefully to avoid getting into trouble. Another important aspect of the Age of Chaucer was the development of literature and education. During this time, more people learned to read and write. Books were still expensive and rare because they had to be copied by hand, but the demand for literature was growing. Most literature was still written in Latin or French, but Chaucer's decision to write in English helped pave the way for future writers to use the English language. Now let us talk more about The Canterbury Tales. As I mentioned earlier, this book is a collection of stories told by pilgrims traveling to Canterbury. There are 24 stories in total, but Chaucer originally planned to write many more. Each story is unique and reflects different aspects of medieval life. For example, the knight's tale is about chivalry and love, while the miller's tale is a funny and sometimes rude story about a love triangle. One of the most interesting things about The Canterbury Tales is how Chaucer gives each character a distinct voice and personality. He uses humor, satire, and vivid descriptions to bring his characters to life. This makes the stories enjoyable to read and also provides valuable insights into the society of the time. Chaucer's characters come from different social backgrounds, which helps us understand the diversity of medieval England. It is also important to understand the structure of the Canterbury Tales. The book begins with a general prologue, where Chaucer introduces the pilgrims and describes their appearance and personalities. This prologue is very important because it sets the stage for the stories and gives us a glimpse into the social hierarchy of the time. After the prologue, each pilgrim tells their story, and Chaucer sometimes includes comments or interruptions from other pilgrims. Chaucer's use of Middle English is another important aspect of his work. Middle English is different from the modern English we speak today, but it is more similar to modern English than Old English. Some words in Middle English may look strange or unfamiliar to you, but with practice, you can understand them. For example, the Middle English word yong means young, and house means house. Chaucer's decision to write in Middle English was groundbreaking because it made literature more accessible to ordinary people who did not know Latin or French. Chaucer's influence on English literature cannot be overstated. By writing in English and creating such rich and diverse characters, he set a standard for future writers. His works have been studied and admired for centuries, and they continue to be an important part of English literature courses. Before we conclude, let us review some key points about the age of Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer was a great poet who lived during a time of significant social, political, and cultural change. The 100 Years' War, the Black Death, and the weakening of the feudal system all shaped the society in which he lived. Religion was central to people's lives, but there was growing criticism of the church. Chaucer's decision to write in Middle English and his creation of the Canterbury Tales made him one of the most important figures in English literature. I hope this detailed explanation has helped you understand the age of Geoffrey Chaucer. Remember to study these points carefully, as they are important for your exams. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your studies.